Hi, guys, and welcome to the Quinn podcast. Here we give you a look through the eyes of the most successful athletes, entertainers, entrepreneurs, and influencers on this planet. Be sure to check out all of the content at quinnpodcast.com. Enjoy the episode. Give me the headlines of the career so far. I was reading up on you. You've done a lot. You've been busy.
I have been busy. Yeah, oh my gosh. Headlines. I would say speaking all around the world. I am a keynote speaker. I have a branding agency called Fortify, and we help reinvent your personal brand. I started, though, this whole venture when I was 23, flat broke, sleeping on a mattress on the floor, and became a nine-figure sales earner by the time I was 26 years old. And so I'm deeply passionate about showing people, no matter where you come from, that you can change your life.
Yeah, that's cool for sure. Take me through that at 23, that position to getting out of that. Like, what were the first couple ventures you undertook?
Well, when I was 23, I just didn't know what I didn't know, right? And I grew up with a single mom, and I didn't really have models showing me entrepreneurship or ways you could do business. And so once I got a mentor and I finally found somebody who was living the life that I wanted, I followed everything they said to do, and gave up a lot of extra things in my life at a young age so that way I could have the life I have today.
That's very cool. The nine figures, there was marketing, there was sales. What was it?
Yeah, I built one of the largest sales teams in the wellness space. Yeah, wellness like protein,
Mm-hmm.
all that kind of stuff.
How'd you go about learning sales? Because you got a vibrant personality, right? That was always that way, or that was cultivated. How did you
Uh,
how do you
you
see
know,
that?
I was always a friendly person, I would say, but I didn't know sales. I mean, I really didn't know how to close someone or anything like that. And so, how I learned is by modeling and watching others, but then having my own flavor on it. And really, it's about relationship marketing to me, and doing it from a very authentic place. And so I would watch people. I'm like, okay, I see what their techniques are or whatever. And then I just really made it my own way, which at the end of the day, when you are doing something that's truthful to you and congruent and in alignment, there's a resonance to truth. And that's really what I started to do from a super young age, that made people not feel like it was spammy or high pressure or anything like that. It was very organic. And that's how I teach anybody that I work with. That's how I teach them how to do it as well.
Very cool. Then you rebranded from sales to personal branding. Um, Before we get on the personal branding itself, take me through the rebranding of you as a person. What was that like?
Yeah, well, I've always taken people on my journey, right? So no matter what business I do, no matter what venture I'm pursuing, I am the brand. You are the brand, right? And so that's something that, it's a part of my philosophy when I teach personal branding. It's like not to become one thing. People say to like niche down. And yes, I was known in a certain arena, but I wasn't just known for that because I've always showcased different parts of my life. And I've always let people in. And I also understand that there may be a time where I change and I want to talk about something different. And so that's really like my whole philosophy the past decade that I've been showing and teaching people through me doing it first is just living my life authentically. And I show people actually what I'm doing, what I'm building, and then they feel a part of it, right? And so this has also just protected me in so many ways. So that way, when I do change, when I do grow, when I do evolve, which is every year, I feel like I'm doing a new thing. I have a new idea, right? That people don't feel like, oh, wow, she was talking about this and now she's talking about that. And it's not so out of left field. Does that make sense?
Sure thing. That is an interesting one though, like the um, consistency while being able to pivot in your brand. How
Yeah.
do you see that?
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Yeah, it's maintaining consistency and like even if you don't have something big you're selling on for the moment, it's always showing up,
Hmm.
right? So that's what I've done throughout my whole career. I'm always showing up. And then when it's the right time to launch something, then I start showcasing that. And that, like, again, I think what people do that's a huge mistake is they stop showing up online because they don't have something they're promoting. And then they come back 6 months, a year later, and they're like, I'm back. Now listen to me. And it's like, it doesn't work like that anymore. Like you need to show up consistently and be generous with your life, your wisdom, your life really of what you want to show, because at the end of the day it's just perception, it's what you decide to show. But I feel like that's the mindset of somebody who wants to give rather than take. A lot of people come on platforms because it's like, what can I gain, what can I gain? And I think the mindset that you need to have is, what can I give? And people can really feel and see right through that.
That, and it's broader in like relationships in general, right? It's,
Yeah.
I mean, I've been feeding relationships that maybe in like 10 years it'll pay off someday, but it's whatever. Yeah, I see what you're
You
saying. That's for sure.
No, I love that you just said that, Quentin, because today I have a call, like a business call with a woman that I knew from working with Tony Robbins. And we have been in each other's world for 10 years. And today we're talking about doing a business thing together 10 years later,
Right.
right? Like it's wild.
It's fine. I like that. Um, so then from okay, back to the sales. Then you fully went into the agency and personal branding. At what point did you decide that was the right move for you?
To start my agency,
Yeah.
well, everything I launch is through trial and error.
Sure.
And I, what I did was I worked with a group of women privately who asked me, hey, can you help me with my personal brand? And so I took like a beta group of women, started working with them. And then I was like, whoa, I could create a huge business of this because I have a different, unique perspective on personal branding, not just the content or even how to monetize, but the visual side of things. I love design. That's like just a huge passion of mine, and art and all that. And what I noticed was a lot of people are not treating themselves like a real legitimate brand. Therefore, they'll never be one, right? And so that's really where I took all the components that I have done throughout the past decade and I built that into Fortify VIP services. And we just started working with clients one on one, whether they're entrepreneurs or they are working corporate, even. People understand nowadays, like, I need to have a personal brand. I don't even know where to start. And so we really take them on that journey from A to Z, how to build their personal brand and then how to launch it and give them the tools, all that stuff, so that way they feel confident when they go to launch, even if they're starting from nothing.
Yeah. I feel like it's definitely the last maybe year or two, that everyone's like, I gotta have something. I gotta have a podcast. I gotta have, I don't know. It's a funny trend, that's for sure.
It's a trend, but it's not going away. It's
Hmm.
like 76% of all Americans, they look at your personal brand before they hire you, before they go to you for a service, if it's your service based. Like, I mean, it's just the world we live in today. If people want to know, who is the person that I'm going to be giving my money
Hmm.
to, or if you're a nanny, who's the person that I'm going to be trusting with my kids. Like it's a real thing, and it's like your digital footprint really does matter. And if you don't have a presence online at all, it's almost alarming to
Yeah.
people. So it's like, what are they hiding something?
Hmm.
um, or are they just not that confident? And that, it's like, that's the perspective you have to think of when it comes to this stuff, because a lot of people are missing out because they're not leaning in and building their personal brand.
Yeah, for sure. How did you go about learning it, the ins and outs of the industry?
Trial and error.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a practitioner first. So every single thing I do, okay, so like I learn something first, and then I do something, and then I teach it. Learn, do, teach. So for me, through me like actually doing it and figuring out what works, what doesn't, then I can teach it, right, with integrity. So that's all I've been doing the past decade is testing of what things work. How do you build an online community? That's something, again, it's like you can build a brand or you can build a brand that has a great community. And community marketing is really the wave of the future. I mean, it's like otherwise, what's the brand for? Is it just for you? You're the vessel, but it shouldn't ever just be for you. It should be for people, and that's also my unique perspective on it. Building a community rather than just building a solo brand, right?
How do you see that community branding? Explain that to me.
Yeah, community branding is many people are endorsing and standing by your message. And your message is typically attached to a feeling, a solution that they are looking to obtain, right? So when you get your messaging down and the messaging is for people, right? It's like it's in it. What's in it for me? When anybody comes to an account, they are subconsciously thinking and asking themselves, what's in it for me to follow this person? Well, when you can really get that down and crystallize a message that you're the vessel, but it's for people, that brings in a community of people, starts with one, that endorses your message. And when they endorse your message and they feel like she's talking to me, like she's speaking to my soul right now, I could get on board with her. And then you do this consistently over time, share yourself generously, share your message. This is how you build a strong brand. Now, if you continually throughout the days, throughout the weeks, make it about them, include them, listen to them. I get DMs and I listen to the women say to me, Emily, I'm burnt out, but I want to build a business. Can you please help me with how I can simultaneously do both? I'm now listening to my girl and I'm giving her value and content that is going to bless her life. And that's how you build a community, is by listening. What do the people want? And then you give them what they want. And over time, and this is the part, Quentin, that people are like, oh my gosh, it's not happening today. Oh my gosh, like I don't have 1 million followers. It's like, yo, if you can't last a day, a week, a month, then you've got such a selfish mindset, because this is going to take time. Because how do we build trust? Through time spent with someone. It takes about 7 hours of spending time with someone, even online, before you decide, do I trust them or not? And a lot of people don't have enough content out that for even someone to garner trust with them, right? Like they don't put enough stuff out so someone could spend 7 hours with them. And so again, that's how you build community. There's all these little tips. But anytime I find myself getting stuck, getting stagnant, I always turn it around and I'm like, man, how can I help my girl today? Like, how can I bless her today? And then that gives me the courage and the energy to then put stuff out that's going to help somebody else, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about.
For sure. How do you go about that when there's like no feedback from the market at all? Like you're at 0 followers.
Yeah, and this is such a good question. I'm so glad you asked. When I wish that I had a video camera on me when I started. Like I started on Facebook and then, moved into Instagram. But what I did was, in my particular business, I made sure that I was also growing it in my local market. So this kept me super active with building the business no matter what, if I was getting feedback or not. So what I did was I would like set up local meetings. I would go to networking meetings. I would try to go meet local business people. And I would literally film myself. I would film myself going to these meetings. I would film myself in the car about to go. I'd film myself before I went into a sales meeting. And even though like I was not getting traction on social media. It was like my mom, it was a couple friends maybe that would comment. That's it, if at all. I just consistently did it. And then it was like, whoa, after 6 months, you've got a handful of raving fans now, and then over time it built up. But what I made sure for my mindset, this is so huge, is that I didn't sit online all day waiting for approval, waiting for attention, waiting for the comments, the likes. I made sure I was still building my stuff and not like just relying on people on social media. So this is why I think it's so important that you definitely keep active and not just sit and wait for people to come to you on a Facebook Live. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. And it's also keeping the train moving, right? Not waiting, okay, I get feedback and then I'll go iterate and 2 weeks later
Yes.
I'll post something. Like, yeah. That's been a thing for me with the show, like keeping the train moving. Even though you can do better, like keeping it moving, that's for sure.
Oh, that is one of my favorite sayings that you just said, keeping the train moving. It is so true. And a little tip that I could give anybody is just like, be very mindful how much consuming you do of other people's stuff, because what can happen is you can start to kind of do that comparison thing or feel bad about yourself. So I really only follow a couple people. Like when I say follow, it's like I consume their content, and I consume it because I feel like motivated watching them, but I don't consume too much stuff where now it's like it's taking me out of my zone, right?
Sure. Um, how do you go about measuring like the strength of a personal brand besides just followers, engagement, whatever? Like that roaring fan base you mentioned. How do you go about that?
So, how do I go about measuring the strength of a personal brand?
Yeah, how do you know like this is something for the long run?
Well, I mean, how I measure a strength is, I mean, definitely like the impact you're having in the lives that you're changing. But if someone's listening and they're like, how do I know if I should build a personal brand or if I'm the right person? Everyone's the right person. What I do to help people figure out like, okay, what could I talk about? How could I express myself is I have them write down on a piece of paper, PIS, and I have them write it in a vertical way on a piece of paper. If you write down PIS, and P stands for passions, and I ask everybody this, like, what's your passions? Think about what you're passionate about. This could be learning financial literacy. This could be cars. This could be, just working out, whatever. You're passionate about it. And then I have the next letter, which is I, is what are you interested in? So again, it kind of goes along with passion, but it could be I'm genuinely interested in design. I'm learning design right now. I'm learning how to have a high frequency home, like very clean house aesthetic, so that way I don't get overwhelmed. I'm interested. And then the S is for skills. What am I skilled at? And so what I do there is say, okay, what in your life have you learned and done? Skilled at sales, right? I'm skilled at teaching personal brands because I started with nothing and I have a pretty decent sized personal brand now, right? What am I skilled at? I'm very highly skilled in biohacking and wellness. I love all that kind of stuff. I'm a performance mindset I run hard. I do more in probably a week than some people do in a year. Like but you have to have a certain mindset for that. And you also have to
Sure.
understand scheduling. And, I also have people look at who were you 10 years ago and what have you learned? What skills have you acquired? Because then you take your PIS and you take that skill bucket and you go, oh, wow, I could teach someone online about this. Like, maybe I should start talking about it because at the end of the day, people want to follow people that give them inspiration, value, or entertainment. So if you're teaching me something that I don't know, it's like that is value. And a lot of people, they overlook all these skills and strengths and talents that they have that they could be utilizing what they know already to teach other people, right? So, what are your passions? What are your interests? What are your skills? I think it's also very advantageous to pull from things that you really love because that's a part of who you are. And again, personal branding is really just being generous with yourself digitally, right? Showing people who you actually are. You might be a super fan of a sports team, and it's like that has nothing to do with telling someone a fact about how to save money, right? Or
Hmm.
whatever. But someone could see that you love, the Lakers. It's like, oh, so do I. And now they're like, oh, we have a common bond here, right? And they could follow you for that. So I really believe in having that blend of your skills, what can you teach, what are you passionate about? They may bleed together, but this is how I start with most people. And then they're like, oh my gosh, like I'm into fashion, I'm into style, I'm into the, and then now they build a brand that they actually like instead of they feel like they have to do it, they have to talk about this. And there's such a difference in the energy of that. Because if I had to sit here and talk about things that I'm like, I'm not really like, I'm not into that. Like, I'm not your girl to talk about hard selling. I soft sell, right? Then that there would be such a difference in my energy with you because I would feel fake.
Hmm. I hear you for sure. Um, this is a funny one. When I was like 14, I believe, I was going through like a DJ phase, right? So I was performing as a DJ. That was my
Yeah.
thing back then. And it wasn't really like gaining traction. It was just whatever. I was just doing it in my bedroom. Every once in a while, I was like performing. And then I figured out when I started like acting like a rapper, like I was like being controversial, posting like my fake design or whatever I was rocking at back then. Um, People started talking about it, and in like no time, I was like this local celebrity, right? It was pretty funny, but it was true controversy, and in like I don't think it's a good strategy for the long term. But what's
Oh,
your
yeah.
view on that? Like controversy as a branding strategy.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that's such a good question because I think some people that bring in controversy, we see that with like the politics here in the United States, and there's so many different ways we could talk about controversy. For me, I don't feel called to do that. Like I was talking to a friend about this who's a very successful entrepreneur, and we were both talking about it. And we were like, she said to me, she's like, I don't feel, it's not that I'm afraid to talk about these things. I don't feel called to talk about them. Like it's not in me. Where other people, I think they really feel called to talk about it. And your calling calls you, right? By what breaks your heart, by what stirs you up. And it's just like, there's certain things inside of all of us, certain skills, certain DNA makeup that God made for us. And so I think that some people, it's a great strategy for them because it's like it's literally a part of who they are. They're controversial. They want to stir the pot, right? And so I think it's like also though asking yourself what's the long-term play with this, and for some people it's their personality, and so the long-term play, it's great if they want to do that because it's legit who they are. They will always talk about that kind of stuff. But for other people, for me, it would take away from the purpose that God has put on my life to help people with transformation. And it's like my focus is to transform someone. I don't care what side of the political spectrum they're on, you
Hmm.
know? And so I'm very connected to my purpose where I know where I'm going. And so I think for some people it may be fun for a little bit, but if it's not like your actual purpose and you're just doing it to get attention, like I build brand for like the long game, not the short game. So there's certain things I could do that are trending that could get me more likes. It could get me more exposure. But if it's not really true to who I am and I feel like a poser, I feel fake, like you'll never see me jumping around, pointing things out on TikTok. Remember that when they were like,
Hmm.
I'm like, I'm not your girl for that. Like, and I never did it. And I'm happy because I don't follow the trends. I create my own and I
Hmm.
create, like, there's even in style, like trends come and go. Great, classic, strong style is here forever. And I look at that in terms of even my brand of like, is this the long term play for me? And that's how I make those decisions. And I think other people should do the same.
Yeah, for sure. Can I touch on at what age would you say you were like aligned with that vision? Because that's a lot of people my age and guys listening. I think that's can be a tough one for sure.
Yeah, for me, I got really, really, really like a lot better when I was like 27, 28. But I worked my whole life. Like I was raised by a single mom and like we didn't get anything handed to us. I bought my first house when I was 21 and had three girls live with me to pay the mortgage. And then I made money. Like I was a straight hustler because I grew up so fast. We didn't have a choice, right? And so I saw a lot when at a very young age, because like I had to grow up fast. I did not have a choice. And so I got into leadership when I was 23 and started building sales teams. And that's, by the time I was 26, it was like I was a millionaire and I was the one in my family that created that change. But I think really it was like 27, 28, like really getting to know myself and what I stand for. And then for me, it's like leaning more into my faith and growing the spiritual side of things. And, business is a spiritual game, right? And that's really when I started to realize, like, wow, there's so many people out there that are preaching one way. Doesn't mean I have to do it because I'm not in alignment with it. I don't, but it took me being exposed at a young age to a lot. And then I was like, I've already seen that. I mean, I bought my first Bentley when I was 30. I had multiple houses. And I'm like, I used to follow people that would tell me and lead me in a way that is not of integrity, right? And I was so young and impressionable that once I saw that though, and it's like better, and I
Hmm.
had the courage to step out of that life and go, okay, I know better than this, and even though that's like a bit of an ego hit, I feel like God has rewarded me for just following the right way, right? But that took me going through it. Sometimes you have to just go through things, you know?
What do you what do you attribute that to though? Like so many people, especially girls, right? They're well, not especially girls, but I know a lot of girls. Let's put it that way. That are in similar positions, like high stress home situations, and that don't thrive, but you do. It's almost as if like a lot of people like they create the stereotypes, so you sort of underestimate them, and then people like you they just come out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah, for women especially, um, I've always been like a unicorn, right? Like I've always been like a girl's guy. Like a lot of my friends are men. Like I'm speaking at an event with like Ed Milet and Tim Tebow and all these. I'm the only girl
Hmm.
speaking. And a lot of times women will come up to me and they're like, I want to be like you and da 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 da. And it's like, are you willing to do what it takes? Because I don't involve myself in gossip. I don't do drama. I'm not the girl that like goes to dinner with 10 other women and drinks all night and looks dresses like they're on the town and then go sleeps around. And I've always had standards for my life, and I think more women need to understand like you don't have to do certain things to get a certain way. You can literally like you're a queen, right? I wish women would understand that you don't have to conform in order to achieve. You actually do the opposite, where you do things in a completely different way. Like I was reading books when everyone else was like on spring break or they were on holiday, getting blasted. And I was literally reading books. I was studying. I was at events with people that are like 20 years older than me, like learning from them. And that's just the law of sacrifice. My friend John Maxwell talks about all the laws of leadership, and there's a great deal of sacrifice. And I just think for women that want to do more and use their purpose and passions, like you do have to realize that comes with a cost, because most people follow the herd. They have the sheep mentality. And if you want to be a lion or a lioness, like you do need to go the opposite way. And on the other side of that is so much freedom, because you're just helping other people if your motives are in the right spot. But looking back, and even still today, it's like I just choose to be around people that think bigger. They are abundant minded. And, early in my career, though, I had to step away from a lot of different women that were just like, they weren't going anywhere,
Yeah, no, for sure. Um, yeah, I like that. What were you like in high school?
I was my class president,
Nice.
and
Yeah.
and I played volleyball, so I was an athlete. I did not like math. I did not like science. I took speech communications, and
Okay.
every single ed class you could ever take. So I took strength training 1, strength training 2, strength training 3. I mean, I was like a little jock, if you will. But I was friends with all my teachers and babysat their kids. And I just was friends with everyone because that's how my mom raised me. Like no matter if they were more of like the skater kids or the jocks or like the nerdy ones, I just was friends with everyone. But in terms of like school was hard for me. Academically, I am gifted in like a creative way. And so sitting in school, I was like, get me out of here. I really tried, but I really struggled academically. But what I knew was that like people matter. And I just made so many relationships.
hmm I hear you for sure. And tying that like back to the personal branding, it's important to have that, right? That sense of confidence. Like I was in my gym this morning. I was reading like Harper's Bazaar or something, and I saw a Gucci advertisement. I'm like, I'm gonna completely turn my brand around. Like this is what I want to base it on. I'm like, probably not the best idea. But how do you see that? Like that consistency. That's just you gotta have that, or you don't have it, or how do you do that with clients?
Yeah. So when you decide, there's elements to brands, right?
hmm
One of the big elements is visual aesthetics. It's that side of like what's the colors, what's the logos, what's the mood, what's the essence, what's the feeling. Most people doing personal brands, they don't even think about this, right? But this, if you look at any brand, to your point, Gucci, Jaguar just made a really bad brand move. I do not endorse that message, whoever did that brand. They did a rebrand. But if you look at any brand, there is the visual identity. And what we teach at Fortify, when people are ready to go to that next level, we match their their purpose, some would call it a vibe, their personality, who they're trying to reach. We match their visuals with who they actually are. And then what we do is we present it to them and we don't stop until we get it right. And what I always tell them is, listen, this is going to feel restrictive, but it actually gives you so much freedom, because now it's like you just know this is a part of the brand. This is we create something what's called a brand Bible. So it's like anytime anybody, if a YouTube video, if it's a speaking engagement, if it's a book I'm doing or anything, we just say, here's my brand Bible. Use the fonts, use the colors, don't screw it up. And if you do, like, we'll let you know. And what happens is like you just create less decisions. So you don't get that decision fatigue when you're getting dressed, when you're setting a stage or anything like that. And it also creates something called brand recognition. So when somebody sees your submark for the 5th time on a shareable quote, they're like, oh, I've seen that before. Who is that, right? And it's these subliminal things that make you stand out in the marketplace. And so that's where, like, the visual side of it, I get excited. I mean, even my whole closet room, it's very like all my black suits, my creams, my grays. I don't have to really think about it. It's like I have a uniform and it's just easy to pick it up. It's like what Tony Robbins does. You see him all the time and dang near the same thing. It's like, yeah, so he doesn't have to think about it and he's comfortable. And so, yeah, there's so many elements to it. And then you can do a brand refresh. If you're like, oh, I used this for X amount of years and I feel like I've changed. Maybe you're like married now. You have a different type of house. Like you lived in a modern house. Now you live in I don't know, like a more of a vintage house. Like you can just change your brand as you go. And you probably should do that every few years. But yeah, I love it. And that's one of the pieces I think I'm doing different in the space than other people, is just it's the visual side of the personal brand.
Cool. That's for sure. All right. So I want to take advantage of the opportunity, right? Because I'm not on call with you every day. When you look at what I'm putting out, like, be harsh on me. I'd love that. What are your thoughts on it? What do you see? What could be better?
Oh my gosh, I have to study it more. I have to study.
You want to
Is
look
your
at it?
is your account's just your name, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I will go study it and I will give
Okay.
you a feedback. And just from like seeing you, like you are like, how old are you?
21.
What? You are so smart. Oh
Thank
my
you.
gosh. I'm proud of you. You were doing this when you were 21 years old?
I did it at 16. I started at 16.
Stop. Okay. Well, I will look and what is I guess tell me what's a couple things that you value.
Like in life, I'd say performance is like top of mind right now. I'm like doing
Yeah.
Ironmans and stuff, so that's what I'm doing. Um, Tough question. Like in dating, I'd say like ambition. Like I'm always looking for someone, or like friends or whatever, who are like ambitious, who have their stuff together and always want to
Yeah.
move ahead. So I'd say those are the main ones.
That's so cool. I have to look and study it, but
Cool.
yeah, I will, now that we're friends and now that
Yeah.
we're like, you are so amazing. I'm so proud of you for doing this. I'm like, my jaw's on the ground right now. I'm like, what? You're gonna be, I mean, my gosh, you're a winner on all fronts.
Thank you.
You're already doing like what most people would never do. And so I can't
hmm
imagine where you're gonna be in 5 years, 10 years.
I'm excited. That's for sure.
I'm excited for you.
I like it.
And you're super like dapper and you've got this amazing accent. And it's like, do you want to stay in the Netherlands for forever?
No, definitely not. No, I'm doing. I'm flying down to Dubai for a podcast in 2 months. This is the first time I'm like, for the show, I'm like moving out of the Netherlands. But no, definitely like that area for sure.
In Dubai.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, I'll take a look and let you know. And now I'll start like, now that I met you, I'm like, you're so bright and And I just think like you have this way about you that's pleasant. It's not try hard in the sometimes in the bro space,
Hmm.
especially with like performance and all that. They're like egomaniacs, and it's just not. Ugh, like I just it's like toxic masculinity, right?
Hmm.
You don't ever need to be that. Just to keep like I call it like your it's like your quiet strength, but you're it's not that you're quiet. You're just not this loud like I need to be in your face, and nobody
Yeah.
wants that anyways. You know what I mean?
No, for sure. No, I appreciate that. No, definitely. I'd say 2, 3 years back, I was definitely more that way and like trying to prove myself, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. I just don't really feel it that way anymore. It's just whatever.
You're
I just do
growing.
my thing, and it's yeah. I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it's experience. Maybe it's just age. I don't know.
Yeah, and you know what I would say too is like it sounds a little weird, but it's just the truth. Like the more that you heal and just kind of understand yourself spiritually, and if you ever and I, again we just met, but if you ever have like childhood trauma or anything like that, I think like that's the one thing I wish I would have healed sooner in my life. I had a lot of trauma growing up because I didn't have a dad and just all these different things. And I healed from that later in life because I actually worked on it. And people think that time heals all wounds, and it's actually what you deal with.
Yeah.
That's when it heals. And so I listen, I don't know if you have any, anything like that, but it's like you will be the man for an amazing woman. You'll be so much more ready for a woman that like, you know what I'm saying, when you're
Hmm.
healed, because I became so much more ready for partnership when I actually was healed from so much stuff, where like early on I would not be the girl to date. I just was like a bit of a mess because I didn't heal from so much trauma that I had for as a child.
Hmm. Sure. How do you go about that though? That's something.
For me, I'm a Christian, and so I go to like a not religious church, and so I healed that way. Like every Sunday, I go to church, and that's really like my secret place to find like every day praying. And I call it the WPP. So I give gratitude and worship, and then pray, and then praise, right? And so I have done this now for the past handful of years, and it really just it like softens your heart. It gives you a deeper understanding of yourself, even, right?
Hmm.
And so um, that would be like a really good place to start. And I can send you some stuff too.
Yeah, I'd love that. No, that's for sure. No, it's funny because um yeah, how do you say it? Like the softening of the heart. That's I love that you say that. It's sort of it felt that way. Like I don't know. Like I say, 2 years ago, I was like so like I don't know, in your face and ambitious, right? And like almost like a hard sell like constantly. And now I'm like more laid back, and it sort of feels like I'm sacrificing ambition in a way, but it's not
Yeah.
really that way. But I don't know. It's just sort of a weird space I'm in right now. It's
Oh my gosh, I know exactly what you're saying.
yeah. Yeah, it's hard
It's
to put it into words, but
It really is. And I just recorded a podcast on my channel on this because I went from extreme, like working burnout. You don't even like know yourself when you're working that much, right? It's like you just make decisions without even thinking to, I need to change my ways. I do not want to burn out. I don't want to burn out my cortisol. I want to have practice more mindfulness. And someone who I love who models this extremely well is Robin Sharma. He wrote the book The Wealth Money Can't Buy. And he's going to come on my show when I get my new building here in Southern California, which you're going to totally have to come by when you're ever in LA.
Sure.
But the way he articulates and explains and teaches being on purpose, being driven, but also like enjoy your cup of coffee, enjoy your conversation, enjoy your workout, like enjoy the flowers, right? He there, and this is what I've been practicing is working smarter, not harder, and really getting intelligent about hiring people. So for me, it's like hiring new staff that can help me so I can be in my zone of genius, but I don't have to be working all the time. This has been, for me, my emotional home is chaos because that's how I grew up, is like I just create chaos. Even if I don't have it, I create it, right? And so I've had to unlearn so many things about myself and how to do business. But what I will tell you is that it can coexist. You can be peaceful but mighty simultaneously. And I think it's all about protecting your mindset and not letting the culture, we live in this culture of like constant energy, attention, dopamine, all of it. So it's almost like a battlefield of the mind of going, no, I can live this way. I can get great stuff done and be peaceful and stoic, and you know what I mean? And that's, to me, that is like the ultimate. Like if you can live like that, you're living on purpose, you're serving other people, you're getting it done, but you're not like running around crazy, burning out like an egotistical maniac. Like that's the dream, right? Like I want to go to Croatia on vacation. I want to go to these places and not just work 24/7.
Yeah, to be able to do that, that's for sure. And like mentally turn off. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fun.
100%. Otherwise, what's the point? Otherwise
Yeah,
it's like, what is the point of all this? Like,
that's a
let's,
very good question. What is the
yeah,
point of all this? That's can do a 10-hour podcast on that one.
I
That's for sure.
know. We call it what's the point?
I love it. Closing. What do you want to leave behind in the space? Not just as an entrepreneur, but maybe like as a person. 10, 20, 30 years from now.
Yeah, it's very much what we're talking about. I want people to know that no matter where you come from, crazy upbringing on my part, you can literally be the one who changes it in your family. You can be the one who does it differently. You can even do business differently. And I want to show people exactly, Quentin, what we're talking about, that you can be a woman and still be feminine and loving and caring and care for your home, but also you can create impact in the world and get stuff done. And you can do both. And you don't have to be in your masculine all the time. And you don't have to burn out. And you can keep your faith. In fact, your faith should be number one. And I feel like God has put that on my heart. And when I go speak in like arenas and stuff, I speak on generational transference. And, I feel like so much of our mindset is what has been transferred on us through our upbringing. And then, just through the system that we're in, whatever environment that the echo chamber we've decided to be in. Right. And so that's my big mission. And I believe that I'll get it done.
Thanks for listening to the Quinn podcast. If you enjoyed it, you can go to quinnpodcast.com to check out all of the previous episodes. quinnpodcast.com.